Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
The old man in the fancy robe was being taken away by the police, and this caught Mr. Sladden's attention. He worked at Messrs. Mergin and Chaiter's store. People thought Mr. Sladden was not very smart at his job. Just a hint of something romantic would make him lose focus, like the store walls were made of fairy wings and London was just a story, instead of helping customers. Just seeing the dirty paper with strange writing around the old man's package made Mr. Sladden think of romance. He followed until most people left, and the stranger stopped by the sidewalk, unwrapped his package, and got ready to sell what was inside. It was a small, old wooden window with little glass panes. It was about a foot wide and less than 2 feet long. Mr. Sladden had never seen a window sold on the street before, so he asked how much it cost. "The price is everything you have," said the old man. "Where did you get it?" asked Mr. Sladden, as the window seemed strange. "I traded everything I had for it in Tehran," replied the old man. "Did you have a lot?" wondered Mr. Sladden. "I had all I needed," he said, "except for this window." "It must be special," said Mr. Sladden. "It's a magical window," said the old man. "I only have 10 shillings now, but I have 15 and 6 at home," said Mr. Sladden. The old man thought for a moment. "Then 25 and 6 is the price of the window," he said. It was only after the deal was done, Mr. Sladden paid 10 shillings, and the odd old man was coming for his 15 and 6, and to put the magical window in Mr. Sladden's only room, that Mr. Sladden realized he didn't actually want a window. But they were already at the door of the house where he rented a room, and it felt too late to explain. The stranger wanted privacy while he installed the window, so Mr. Sladden stayed outside the door at the top of some creaky stairs. He didn't hear any hammering. Soon, the strange old man came out in his faded yellow robe, with his big beard and distant look in his eyes. "It's done," he said, and he and Mr. Sladden said goodbye. Whether he stayed as a unique sight in London or returned to Tehran, and who kept using his 25 and 6, Mr. Sladden never found out. Mr. Sladden went into his simple room where he slept and spent his time when he wasn't working at Messrs. Mergin and Chaiter's. In such a dull room, his nice coat must have seemed quite out of place. Mr. Sladden took it off and folded it neatly. Then he noticed the old man's window high up on the wall. There hadn't been a window there before, just a small cupboard. After he put his coat away, he looked through the new window. It was late in the summer evening. The butterflies had already gone to sleep, though it wasn't yet time for bats to come out. But this was London. The shops were closed, and the street lights were not yet on. Mr. Sladden rubbed his eyes, then rubbed the window, but still he saw a sky of bright blue and, far below, a medieval city with towers, brown roofs, cobblestone streets, white walls, and green fields. Archers lounged on the towers, pikemen stood along the walls, and wagons moved through the streets and out of the city gates. Sometimes people looked out of lattice windows, and troubadours sang. But nobody seemed rushed or worried about anything. Even though Mr. Sladden felt high above the city, higher than any cathedral gargoyle, he could see one clear detail. Banners with golden dragons on a white background flew from every tower. He heard motor buses pass by his other window and newsboys shouting. Mr. Sladen became even more lost in dreams while he was at Messrs. Merjin and Chaiter's store. But he was smart about one thing. He kept asking about the flags with golden dragons on a white background and didn't tell anyone about his amazing window. He learned about the flags of every European king, even studied history, and asked at shops that knew about heraldry. But he couldn't find any information about dragons on a white field. When it seemed like only he had seen those golden dragons, he started to love them like a person stranded in a desert might love the flowers from home, or like a sick person might love swallows when they can't wait for another spring. When Messrs. Merjin and Chaiter closed for the day, Mr. Sladen would go back to his gloomy room and look through the wonderful window until it got dark in the city. He would watch as guards with lanterns walked around the walls, and night fell like soft velvet, full of strange stars. One night, he tried to find another clue by drawing the shapes of the constellations, but they didn't match any he'd seen before in either hemisphere. Every morning, as soon as he woke up, Mr. Sladen would go straight to the wonderful window. There, he would see the city far away, shining in the morning light, with the golden dragons sparkling in the sun and the archers moving around on the windy towers. The window couldn't be opened, so he never heard the songs of the troubadours below the gilded balconies, or the chimes of the bells, although he watched the jackdaws flying out every hour. The first thing he always did was to check all the little towers rising from the walls to make sure the golden dragons were flying on their flags. When he saw them proudly waving on white banners from every tower against the deep blue sky, he would dress happily and head off to work with a sense of wonder in his mind. The customers at Messrs. Merjin and Chaiter's store would never have guessed what Mr. Sladen truly dreamed of as he walked in front of them in his smart coat. He wished he could be a soldier or an archer to defend the golden dragons flying on a white flag for an unknown king in a city he couldn't reach. At first, Mr. Sladen walked all around the ordinary street where he lived, but he found no clues there. Soon, he noticed that the winds blowing below his wonderful window were different from those on the other side of the house. In August, the evenings started getting shorter, and Mr. Sladen's co-workers at the store mentioned it to him. He worried they might suspect his secret, and he had less time for the wonderful window since it got dark early and there were fewer lights down there. One late August morning, just before he went to work, Mr. Sladen saw a group of pikemen running toward the gateway of the medieval city, Golden Dragon City, as he called it in his mind, though he never told anyone. Then he noticed the archers were carrying bundles of arrows along with their quivers. More heads than usual peeked out of windows. A woman called her children inside, and a knight rode down the street. More pikemen appeared along the walls, and all the jackdaws flew into the air. No troubadours sang in the street. Mr. Sladen quickly checked that the flags were flying with their golden dragons before he had to leave for work. That evening, he took a bus back home and ran upstairs. Nothing seemed to be happening in Golden Dragon City except for a crowd in the cobbled street leading to the gateway. The archers lounged lazily in their towers, and then a white flag with golden dragons fell. At first, Mr. Sladen didn't realize all the archers were dead. The crowd moved toward him, toward the steep wall where he stood. Men with a white flag covered in golden dragons were slowly retreating, while others with a red bear flag pressed them. Another banner fell from a tower. Then Mr. Sladen saw it all. His golden dragons were losing. The men with the bear flag were approaching under his window. Whatever he threw from that height would hit with great force. Fire irons, coal, his clock, whatever he had. He would fight for his golden dragons. A flame erupted from one of the towers and licked at the feet of a reclining archer who didn't move. Now the enemy flag was directly below him. Mr. Sladen broke the panes of the wonderful window and removed the lead with a poker. Just as the glass broke, he saw a banner with golden dragons still fluttering. Then, as he pulled back to throw the poker, he smelled mysterious spices, and there was nothing there. Just the small cupboard where he kept his tea things. Even though Mr. Sladen is older now and knows more about the world, and even has his own business, he has never been able to find another window like it, and he hasn't heard any rumors about Golden Dragon City since.